I think it's no secret anymore in the Premier League that two of the best wingers, especially on the right-hand side, are Mbeumo and Semenyo. If the top six start getting irked by these rules, I think they'll be changed pretty quickly, to be honest. Kundo Ferreira. Jesus Christ. I feel so somber. I'm going to wake myself up. We're not doing transfers. We're not doing transfers. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NUFC 360 podcast. With me this week are Jack and Ryan for a very special and energized and very exciting transfer special. 22 days into the new year. First of all, how are you both today?
Yeah, good. Not too bad. How are you?
I'm depressed.
You're depressed?
Oh, yeah. We were just talking off air. So we're doing a transfer special. And it feels like, I don't know, relatives died or something they used to enjoy. And I look back at it with fondness and now it's horrible and hollow and dead. We're going to go through rumors that are minimal. And it's kind of just sums up the state of the Premier League, really. I mean, I know you mentioned Almiron is looking like he's on his way out, looking like that deal's almost done. So wish you all the best. I don't think many people miss him, as in his ability on the pitch. Lovely, smiley boy. Had that 6 months run a few years ago. Thanks, Miggy. But in the news this week, and it was we always mention Football Manager, such a Football Manager transfer for the fee, for the club, and the player mentioned. I've seen news that Lloyd Kelly has had interest from Juventus for upwards of 30 million euro. This has to be bullshit, Jack. Is it? What? Any truth to this? Where's this come from? And do you expect him to stay, leave?
Well, I think it's one of the stranger transfers I've heard, considering he's played 9 Premier League games this season for Newcastle. And he hasn't started since that West Ham match, which he was horrendous in.
He was crap,
being fair. At fault for both goals. Before that, he was sort of in and out of the team at left back, wasn't he? He was kind of rotating with Lewis Hall. So he started against Bournemouth at left back. He started against Tottenham at left back. He started against Fulham at left back. So he was rotating. And then obviously Lewis Hall took that position, rightfully so. Kelly, one of the weird things I think with Juventus is that they sold Dean Howson to Bournemouth, and has looked brilliant all season.
Weekend.
Yeah. And now they want Lloyd Kelly, who Bournemouth let go on free. So I feel like Juventus' transfer strategy is not quite at its peak on what it used to be when they used to sign like Dybala and Vidal and Pirlo.
20 0-0 draws this season as well. I think the last thing they need is a defender.
Yeah, exactly. They definitely don't need a defender. It's one of the strangest. It's just so weird. I don't get where it's come from. Apparently they're looking. I mean, Italian media are, let's be honest, not the most reliable sometimes, but they're reporting that we're looking at a potential loan to buy deal where it'd be £30 million.
I'll drive him myself.
Right. Get him in the car to cheer in. Let's go.
Just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with Kelly is like he is versatile and like, look, he's not settled in yet, and I think he was signed. Probably he felt he was going to play alongside Fabian Schär at centre back. And he'd replace Byrne in the team. I think that was probably what he thought would happen while Botman recovered. And then, of course, what's actually happened is Byrne's had a really good season.
Yes,
apart from the odd game, Byrne's had a really strong campaign so far. And Kelly's had to just sort of come in now and then. He got that chance against West Ham, and as I said, terrible. Like lost Souček for the goal, and then he didn't block the shot for the second goal as well. There was other people at fault as well in the build up to some of the goals, but still, he was largely at fault for them. And then apart from that, he's played a minute since in the Premier League. And even against Bromley, I thought he was poor. Like, he gave the ball away quite a few times in the first half. I think we're 1-0 down. He passed the ball straight at that winger, and the winger nearly scored him in at 2-0. So he's had a bad time on Tyneside at the moment. I don't know if that's necessary. I don't know if that means he's a bad player, because I saw him at Bournemouth quite often, and I was happy when we signed him because he is solid. He is good on the ball. It's just not worked out for him. But if Newcastle can actually get a fee for him, I think it would be a deal that makes sense for everyone. And Kelly could go play for one of the biggest teams in Europe somehow. So it'd be great for him, wouldn't it?
It's a very strange one. The other rumor, Ryan, is, and that I saw today, that Stephen in the background has sent through, is a swap deal for Kelly, and we would get Douglas Luiz in return. Let's play again. Would you rather 20, 30 million Lloyd Kelly, see you later, or would you rather a swap deal and bring in Douglas Luiz?
I'm just going to start off by saying that rumour came from an account called Football Joe, which I didn't really have any I've had the pleasure of looking at his Twitter page, but let's just say, he's up there with one of the most unreliable sources in the world. And I think he's probably a 16-year-old kid that's hiding in his mum's basement, posting these for a bit of amusement. But no, I'm only joking. But in all seriousness, taking that aside, I wouldn't do that deal. No, I don't think that position where Douglas Luiz plays is a position that we right now, as an immediate priority, need to strengthen. So we've got Tonali. I mean, where would Douglas Luiz play in that Newcastle midfield? I mean, you could argue, but he tended to play, correct me if I'm wrong, as more of a sitter for Aston Villa anyway, didn't he?
Yeah, pretty much.
I think Tonali's made that role his own and is one of the best in the league at it. So you'd rather have the money person and then look to invest that in other positions which are more immediate. I think centre midfield is probably one of the only positions where we're actually okay for numbers.
And quality.
And again, with Lloyd Kelly, I mean, if you can get a fee for him, I think we're fairly well stacked in centre back as well at the minute, especially on the left hand side. In terms of we've got Burn and Botman.
Lascelles
probably do Lascelles
and Kraft.
I mean, hardly inspiring Premier League centre halves, but I mean,
Emil Kraft's never put a foot wrong at centre back.
Well, I'll get you through to the.
Still got that worldie against PSG.
Long story short, no, I wouldn't take that deal.
No,
I still think Douglas Luiz is a good player. I mean, what would you do? Tell me.
Oh, me, as I told you, I'd drive him there for the money. I'd love to sell him to not spend the money because we've got no money, even though we don't spend money. The rules being as they are. But when I saw that off, as I say, it just threw me for a loop when someone that we've all agreed has been poor and one of the biggest teams in world football come in and go, yeah, can we have him? That guy you bought for free and hasn't been good. Can we have him, please, for a lot of money? Of course we're going to. I think they would. If we got over £20 million, I think they would sell him in a heartbeat. Makes business sense. He's not being used. Even if we sell him to just bank that money and be able to have a massive summer, I'm happy doing that just because we've got Botman coming back and saying Kraft coming back. So we have players that can fill in that role because Burn has had a really good season. Easy to criticise him, but apart from a few games where he's been crazy pressing out of position, I think he has been solid. He's had a lot of good games. Another one that's been on the rumour mill, it always seems to happen, so I don't know whether or not there's any truth to this. I've heard that Longstaff might be some interest in Longstaff on his way out. Is there any truth to that? And do you expect him to stay or leave?
Yeah, I think the Longstaff one's interesting. So his contract's been extended. It currently expired. It was going to expire in the summer. It has been. They've triggered a 1-year deal. So, and I think that's almost kind of to sell him. I don't know why you would just trigger it by 1 year if you weren't intending to make a fee from Longstaff, because otherwise, if you wanted to keep him as part of the squad, you'd give him a 3-year contract or something like that. I mean, Sean Longstaff is 27, so you could easily give him a 3-year contract.
27 already.
If you want to keep
Jesus
him on,
Christ.
if you want to keep him on Tyneside and keep him as part of the team, I don't know why you would do the 1-year contract extension if it wasn't a plan to sell him. I don't know if it necessarily been in January. But I certainly think in the summer, because I think you look at Lewis Miley and the fact Miley's put on a lot of muscle over the summer and it's just a lot calmer presence on the football than Sean Longstaff is. I think Longstaff's steadily dropping down the pecking order now. I think Willock's ahead of him because Willock offers something different as well.
Yeah.
I think you're looking at Longstaff being 5th choice realistically in the centre of midfield. And with Newcastle's midfield, how often is it that not all of them play the 90 minutes even? You know, Tonali has played 90 minutes consistently now for a while. Bruno usually plays the full game and Joe Linton might play about 80 minutes. So I think that Longstaff's game time is going to drastically reduce. I think he has done, over 200 appearances for Newcastle. Boyhood, fan from the academy. He's got his limitations, yes, but he has massively improved under Eddie Howe. He's played some crucial roles in our seasons under Howe and also delivered some great moments that, we'll never forget. I'm sure I'll never, ever forget that goal against Paris Saint-Germain at St. James's Park, in the Champions League. I can't imagine when he was sitting in the reserves under Steve Bruce, he ever thought that moment was ever going to happen. So you know, we're looking at a player who's maximised the most of his ability and got the most, but maybe where Newcastle want to go, probably need someone who's just that little bit better and offers a little bit more on the ball. I think he could do well at a team who are happy to not have possession. I think we've noticed more now with Tonali in the team and Bruno in the team. Newcastle seem to be much more comfortable in possession.
Yeah.
Longstaff doesn't work in a team like that. But really, that's not his game. And we look at how he played against Bromley. He really struggled on the ball. It takes a long time to make decisions, make passes, and by that point, the other opposition are back in formation. So, yeah, I think it'd be a natural thing for him to go. I don't know if he'd go in January, but I think certainly in the summer, I can't see Longstaff staying.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan, how much would you sell him for? How much do you think the club should sell him for, or aim to, if they were to get off him?
I think it's tricky, really, isn't it? I mean, he has got the benefit of being English, of course, and I don't mean that in a Brexit means Brexit way. I mean that clubs are looking for homegrown players, and they tend to have that tax on top of them.
Yep.
I think if you could get 10 to 15 million for Longstaff, I think again you take it, and I think you move on and you wish him well, like Jack says. And he has fallen down that pecking order. I think he would be I still think he's good enough to play Premier League football. Don't get me wrong. I think people that label him as a Championship footballer, League One footballer, whatever, I think that's unfair on him. I do think, like Jack says, in a team there, bottom half team where they don't have a lot of the ball and they need people in there with legs that'll give you, you know what you're going to get from Longstaff. We know his limitations, but you also know what he'll give you, and he will work his socks off for you for 90 minutes. So yeah, I think 15 million for me would be a good price.
Yeah. Well, news coming into me down the wire is that the rumour destinations are Leeds and Everton, which I can see him fitting into. He screams Everton right now. Longstaff, doesn't he? Absolutely screams it. And apparently 25 million euros. So what's that, about 20 mil? So yeah, 15, 20 mil. I think we would take it because it's pure profit. Like, that's what I keep hearing. Like, and you can apparently if you sell an academy player,
just said that. This the anti-PSL talking about pure profit.
Well, if you sell your academy player, they're worth 15 billion more than normal players. So sell the kids off.
Yeah, tell me is amortization.
Kill all the dreams of people who want to be.
The amortization. Yeah.
Value over the
so you
next
sell it for 20, he's actually worth 70. It's just fucking works out. Fuck off, man. I hope the next Football Manager does not have this shite, and it probably will. Like when I was sort of managing the MLS, everyone kept trying to get me draft picks. Don't know what you mean. Go away. Leave me alone.
It's great for boyhood fans, isn't it? The dream of playing for their club, and then they get in the first team, and they're like, "Oh no, sorry, we need to sell you immediately because we need to make some money. Bye." Off you go to Nottingham Forest.
It is mental. I mean, it kind of says the state of the whole transfer window at the minute. I was saying before we came on, the fact that we're not buying anyone isn't bothering me that much because nobody's buying anyone unless it's Man City, who are kind of just taking the piss now. Top six start getting irked by these rules. I think they'll be changed pretty quickly, to be honest. I would like to discuss who we're looking to buy. I say this every day in our chat, and my player that I would love us to go get, and we've been rumored with him, is Dibbling. Is it Tyler Dibbling from Tyler Dibbling from Southampton. Every time I see him, I think he's great. I thought he was amazing against Man United, although most people in the Southampton team were amazing against Man United. Ryan, do you think he's a realistic target for this window or the next window?
I agree. I really like him as a player. And I think it's, given the club's blueprint and the way they seem to want to be going with transfers, it's the type of deal that we would realistically be taking a look at. He's actually been rumoured and linked with the club a couple of times, really, actually. I mean, I think there's been rumours kind of last summer that the club were looking, or even 2 years ago, and he was 16 or whatever, that the club were looking to do a deal for him. So it's clearly a player that the club have had their eyes on for a while. My biggest worry is I don't think he'll go now, given his injury, given the fact that Southampton will want to keep him. And although he might go for a slightly cut price deal, I think what you find these days is Championship teams with the parachute payments and with the money that they've got, they're not necessarily just slashing the value of their players as much as they were, right? I mean, you're still paying it, unless he's got a release clause in there, a decent fee. But what I do think will happen is if that fee is slightly reduced, I think it'll tempt teams like Chelsea, yeah, that sort of team. And I think my biggest worry is, although we can probably offer them more first team football and probably a better pathway into the first team, how much does that mean to him? It will, and unfortunately right now we probably don't have the pull that a team like Chelsea does, do it. I mean, he's probably going to, that I'm hyped. It's a hypothetical situation, but yeah, I think he's a realistic target. It's one we should look at, and it's whether we, given our situation, value paying that much for pure potential, because he has got ability, but you also paying a high amount of that for potential versus going for a more first team ready player in someone like an Mbeumo or a Semenyo or something like that. So I think it's a realistic target, but I think obviously it's probably a bit of a dilemma for the club, and probably one they've chatted about already.
Yeah, and that you've literally the two players I was going to mention next, Jack. I mean, I think it's no secret anymore in the Premier League that two of the best wingers, especially on the right hand side, are Mbeumo and Semenyo. I thought Semenyo was class against us, or the Bournemouth was.
He's an excellent.
He is amazing. One
of the only players I've seen Tino Livramento really struggle against, to be honest. Tino usually deals with whoever he's against one-on-one extremely well, but from the first minute, Semenyo was just bursting past him. But I think what I like about Semenyo is he's left-footed and right-footed as well. It seems like he can do anything with his left foot as well. He got the assist for Kluivert to goal with his left foot by just a clever little cutback. But then his right foot, he scored some ridiculous goals this season where he just absolutely smashes the ball as hard as he can. Yeah, I do really like him. And Mbeumo, I said I think Newcastle too late for Mbeumo now.
I think so too.
I think the summer was the chance. You're looking at the moment, nothing's changed. Salah is leaving Liverpool as it stands. Like he is, his contract expires at the end of the season. Look, it might change, but the way it's going, it doesn't feel like that's changing, to be honest. So they're gonna need a replacement, and I think Brian Mbeumo almost just fits it almost too well, to be honest, because they would have signed Bowen maybe a couple of years ago, but now Bowen's 28, turns 29 soon. He's probably a bit ahead of the age that they're looking for. And Mbeumo's 25, has got plenty of Premier League experience now. Plenty
He's like he's been around forever, doesn't he? It's quite surprising.
Yeah, he's been around for a while. Yeah, he joined Brentford in 2018 roughly. So
when they got promoted, for a long time. Yeah.
He's been there for a long time. He used to play with Watkins. He used to play with Ben Rama. That was their BMW front three that they used to have. So Mbeumo was the only one who stayed, and he's going to have a lot of teams looking at him. Semenyo will now as well, because let's be honest, they signed Semenyo from Bristol City, Bournemouth, and I don't think anyone
did they actually? Christ on my, I didn't even know that. What a signing! I don't think
anyone even blinked at it and thought anything of it. And to be honest, he wasn't great under Gary O'Neill, but he has turned into something special under Iraola. And again, no matter what happens with Bournemouth this season, there'll be plenty of teams in for him. You're looking. It's not going to happen in January for either of them. Dibbling as Ryan, that's not going to happen in January. There's no right winger option. I don't think is going to happen.
I think what it does show, though, which is interesting, is I think the way a lot of us perceive the window is that you've got to go out there and buy a 50, 60 million player to improve your squad, when you don't necessarily, right? I think what we've shown, and I know these are edge cases and not every signing turns out to be as good as Semenyo, but there is value for money out there in Europe. You don't necessarily need to be spending 50, 60 million on a winger. And what you would hope is with the work that Newcastle are doing in the scouting department and Paul Mitchell and his reputation, that they should be able to go out there and unearth a few more of those players. So that's something I think you would like to see the club do a little bit more as well. I'd like they are making a few signings, but keep investing into that, and even if one in every three turns out to be good, you're still getting your money back, aren't you?
Well, that's one of the things I was going to say. I mean, it's been not a great start from what I can tell by Mitchell. Possibly one of the worst summers that I can remember. Certainly under the new ownership. And now, again, I know money might be short, but as you alluded to there, Ryan, a lot of teams out there seem to find these players for not a lot of money, and they do really well. I don't know. We've bought a lot of youngsters. None of them have come good yet. And that's fair enough. You can't go out there and buy Lionel Messi at 18. It's just not possible. But is there more pressure on for the club to find some of these players and also to come
Yeah,
good?
what I was going to say is Garan Qual scored against Gateshead last night. So I saw someone on Twitter saying put him on the bench against Southampton. But I think you can only. Mitchell's an easy target, isn't he? Ultimately, I mean, the fact of the matter is we have a lot of dead wood in the squad that is very hard to sell. There's only so much you can do. I mean, we know we crack on about this PSR stuff, but the fact of the matter is you can't buy with the current rules. We've made a couple of sales, but nothing of major impact. And teams look at, like, how can West Ham bid 55 million for Duran, for example? Well, they sold Declan Rice for 100 million 2 years ago, and Newcastle just haven't had those sales. So I think you are working with a very limited scope. But I do agree. I think, the summer transfer window was a shocker, and you've got Minter and Anderson both scoring.
Oh, again, every time. I mean, not so much Anderson because broken clock's right twice a day, but Minter.
That was his first Premier League goal, that Anderson.
Was it? I thought it was really. Nope. I thought he'd scored about 20 by now. Really? Nope. Only one. Okay, cool.
I think
he has had a very good season.
And I want to see him do well, Mark. I know you're not a fan of him, but I think
I don't dislike him. I just think he's.
I think he's
best an average Premier League player
with a run and
the Champions League next
confidence.
Season.
Yeah, exactly.
So Longstaff.
Yeah.
My final point on Mitchell, though, I would like to say is, as much as he's getting criticised for incomings, if he can get, like you say, 25 million, let's say, for Lloyd Kelly and Miguel Almiron, then he deserves some credit for that as well. It depends how much he's doing behind the scenes, but we have sold a few players and got some decent fees for some players. So I think that has to be looked at as well. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean just because you're selling now, moving into summer, it's going to be another failure,
Yeah, I mean, if he gets £20 million for Lloyd Kelly, there'll be a statue built outside St James's Park for him. That deal's ridiculous. I think the money that we're getting for Almiron, if it's running around 10 mil, that's about right. I think that's fair market value for a Premier League player coming towards the end of his contract.
Yeah, and 21 million for Almiron that Newcastle paid.
Yeah, and we've got massive money's worth. Is that what you'd say?
Definitely.
Over the years and getting half of that money back, fair play.
Yeah.
And then lastly, before we go, are we going to sign anyone? Percentage chance, each of you. What percentage, if we were to sell Almiron, because that's the one that seems to definitely go through. I can't see Lloyd Kelly go because that's mental. If we were to sell Almiron for 10 mil, Jack, what's your percentage of us buying someone? 100 being we're definitely buying someone, 0 being we're not.
Well, I think if you look at what we've talked about, the options on the right wing that Newcastle are looking at, what would be the point of selling Almiron and then not being able to get that sort of quality in it? It'd be pointless. So for me, I don't think we'll sign anyone now.
0. Oh wow, 0. Okay, Ryan.
Kind of agree with Jack. Really, I think January is always a tough window. And if you are in Bournemouth and Brentford shoes, why on earth would you sell your best player midway through the season? So I mean, I'd say maybe a little bit. What I would have said is I think Newcastle would have tried to make a move for Kusanov or whatever, the centre back, but Man City pipped them to it. So if they had sold Almiron, I think that might have been, that might have accelerated Kelly going out and they would have tried to do that deal. But now that's happened, I can't see it happening. And surprisingly, I'm just looking at the date there. We're actually 3 weeks into the transfer window already, and it's nearly done. I didn't feel like it's even started given the lack of activity, but. Yeah, I got 10-15%, Mark. I can't see anything higher than that. Yeah.
I'm inclined to agree, and the state of this transfer window sums up the state of football for me at the minute. Just drab and boring. I look back at Written in the Stars song came on. The
Super Sunday, old Super Sunday.
Yeah, and that came on the other day, and I just stood in the shower, just been like, oh yeah,
nostalgia. No, I do that.
Back when football was fun, and
I mean, we've chatted about this before, but the whole, I just hate the fact that we spend more time talking about PSR than we actually do talking about football and what's coming up and the fixtures that are coming up and all that sort of stuff. We've got guys on Twitter now who have turned into financial experts and trying to work out all these fees, all amortization fees and all this, and I think it's gone past the point. You know what I mean? It was there to bring control, and I agree there needs to be some level of control, but people want to see competitive league, and we're not getting. Well, we are, but we could be doing more.
It's one of those things where, like, Stefan Borson, never heard of him, and he's on bloody TalkSport every other day now. It's explaining FFP rules and all that sort of crap. But gone are the days of people standing outside of grounds surrounded by children, getting sex toys thrown at them, having players rock up outside of grounds saying they're about to be bought when they're not. The fun has been sucked out of football, and I hope it's due to make a return very soon. But there you go, guys. 0% chance of us buying anyone. So good news. And then NUFC360. Thank you for making it this far. Like, share, and subscribe. And gentlemen, thank you for this depressing episode. Till next time.